Hello folks, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about why there are some creators leaving the Lumix ecosystem or system in all. And this video came in my mind especially after seeing Big Cook basically deciding to leave Lumix and get into a totally new ecosystem, which is the Nikon ecosystem. And yeah, Nikon is really coming out after especially buying Red. It seems like people are getting really into Nikon a lot more. So it's kind of a really good marketing strategy that Nikon went for. Then the release of the LUTs and everything. So I think Nikon, it's definitely the way to go these days if you really want to get into the professional world. Yeah, I thought in the past too, as soon as basically the Z6 Mark III came out, I thought about basically getting rid of my Lumix S5IIX and replacing it with the Z6 Mark III. But then I changed my mind, and you can basically see the previous video that I posted to understand fully why I didn't do it, which it's not technical reason or anything, it's more of kind of a personal reason. So go watch that video at the end of this video. I will link it at the end of this video. And yeah, let's go straight into this video. So the first reason is that there are not cameras at all price ranges in the Lumix ecosystem, like Canon, Sony, and Nikon has. Because if you want to go on basically an entry-level camera from Lumix, currently you don't have it. Especially if you want to use the newest phase detect autofocus system. And that's something that I think bothers a lot of newcomers, beginners, and so on, because a beginner would not want to go with a camera that doesn't even have a good autofocus system, right? So that makes it harder for a beginner to come into the Lumix ecosystem, because the base price of a beginner camera or beginner friendly, or anyway, the base price that Lumix has for its entry level, let's say, camera, which I consider it to be the S9 in the full frame, is 1,004. In Europe at least is between 1,004 and 2,000, which for that amount of price it's quite absurd, especially because you are eating up your own cameras. Like the S5II and the S5IIX are kind of in the same price range when you are going into their ecosystem, and when there are like discounts and so on, they're all kind of eating up each other. So sometimes it becomes quite confusing for someone who is going for a Lumix camera, and you will like, should I go for the S9 or should I just go for the S5 Mark II? And it depends of what are you doing. But if you want to grow more into the professional kind of field in photography and videography, of course, in that case, you will go for the S5 Mark II. Even though it's a bit more bulkier and everything, you can grow more into that. So that's where I think it becomes a little bit harder for a beginner to come into this ecosystem, because who are buying the S9 in this specific moment are people who are already professionals, who already know how to shoot pictures and stuff. So I mean, personally, I haven't seen any beginner actually just buying the S9 and say, oh yeah, I'm a beginner, so I want to get into the Lumix system, so I just get the S9. I know that you guys understand what I mean, and I'm not here bashing on the S9 because I think it's a fantastic camera and it's amazing for what Lumix can do in the future with the S9 Mark II. Probably putting an EVF, a faster sensor, and for me, you already won there. But for the price range that at the moment, I will still say it every time that I'm talking about it, the S9, it's too much, and there is no any camera that it basically a beginner friendly camera in the Lumix lineup. Like the Canon has the R50, the R10, and then you have their crop sensors, but in the full frame sensor they have the R8, which is way more and beyond what the S9 can do, because it doesn't have IBIS. I get it, it doesn't have IBIS, but for what it gives, it's amazing. Then let's not talk about the battery and stuff like that. But then if we go in Sony has so much of cameras between the 500 to the 1005 range that beginners can just fight about, doesn't matter. And Nikon is the same. The Nikon has the Z30, now the Z50, then so on. And in the full frame, of course, now they have the Z6 Mark III, but you still have the Z6 Mark II, Mark I, the Z7 Mark II, and Mark I. So there is a lot of choices, while Lumix don't have those choices. Let me get into the second point now. So the second point is basically the slow technological growth. So Lumix came up and did the boom with the GH4, the GH5, and then when the S5 came out, it was a little bit overshadowed because that was kind of the period where the A7S III came out, and the Canon R5 and the Canon R6II in all those kind of periods. So the S5 kind of passed under the radar, but the GH4 and the GH5 were the great years of Lumix. And then since then, nobody understood really what was going on. There was a really slow pace of growth technologically and stuff. So now they are kind of coming back a little bit slowly, but they have to play catch up, right? Because before there were other camera companies playing catch up. Now it's Lumix that needs to play catch up, and it's going a little bit harder because the technology is advancing so fast. By just looking at what the Z6 Mark III is capable of doing, it's becoming, I think, harder for Lumix to keep up. But this year seems to be the year where Lumix might be actually coming out and coming back with really some bangers, like the the S1R Mark II and the S1H Mark II. And then there is one more registration of a camera, which, who knows, might be a B, I don't know, one of those boxy camera, which is the BH1, and the it might be the BH1, the one that was like, or the BHS1, which was like the S1H sensor in a boxy camera, which they have already have an upgrade for those cameras, but that is in the broadcast system. Let's not get into that conversation, but everyone is waiting for those cameras, and this year seems to be the year where those cameras are coming out, and they might be the one where finally Lumix technologically comes back and kind of steals everyone's everything again, as they did with the GH4 and the GH5. The third point is the lenses. So they have a really, I think, good and amazing prime lenses, which covers all the ranges until the 100 millimeters, and then they have really good zoom pro lenses, and then they have some nice affordable, like the 28 to 200 with variable aperture. Then the rest of them I'm not really gonna get into, but like I think they have the 16, but that's a pro lens. They have a 14, 24, might be Sigma there, but in any case, they need more kind of zoom lenses, so super zoom lenses, and in that aspect they kind of have it covered by Sigma, but many people wants to have first-party lenses done by Panasonic, which Sigma lenses are actually already first-party lenses, but people are still not wanting to invest into other manufacturers. So I'm not sure if that's more of an excuse or that is like we want Lumix lenses and not Sigma lenses, or now we have Samyang too, and we have there are some other companies like I don't remember. I have let's see. Yeah, we have companies like Meike, for example, or Meike or Meike or whatever, how you call them. But we have lenses like this one, which is the 51.8 that I will be reviewing soon from Meike, which is not a first party, but is a third party, the first third party manufacturer to actually produce autofocus lenses. So there are some companies coming around and starting to produce lenses for Lumix. It's just taking a bit longer because of how many full frame cameras Lumix have out available at the moment with the face detector autofocus, right? So companies are coming in, but it's a little bit on the slower side, but it's cool to see that they are coming in. So the lenses might be maybe a little bit of downsider on everything that kind of Lumix and is doing, and people deciding to leave for their lack of sense of lenses, because that has been one of the things that people have complained the most about. But yeah, I still think that there is Sigma producing lenses, so it's not really a huge problem in that perspective, but people seem to have that issue. Last but not least, I'm not leaving Lumix nowhere soon, at least not this year, because I want to see what Lumix is going to do with the S1H Mark II and the S1R Mark II. And then if they fail to deliver or to advance technologically, then that might be the end for me. And I still love this camera up to date, but I feel like we need something new, right? And something more exciting. But thank you for sticking here. Share your comment and point of view down below, and let's have a chat, right? Be polite, don't insult. If you don't have anything constructive to say, don't talk, don't say anything. Put on a negative review or whatever, like just put the times down. Just let's keep good vibes down below there, yeah? So take good care of yourself. Hope you're feeling well, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Thank you for the support.